Hi, I'm Tony Anderson, Section 8 Coordinator for True Team. I'm going to do a quick tutorial for the timers and the scorers. Just kind of expect what to do, what to look for when you get the meets, back up, and then for those of you that haven't done unseated meets, which I know there are a couple of you this year, there are kind of two different ways to do unseated meets with Hi-Tech and finish links. For those of you that have done this before, you should be good to go with this. So the first thing you do is open up your meet. I've got a meet open up from last year. A couple things you want to check right away. Go into setup. You look at the meet setup. The names and all of this stuff is filled out for you already. Please do not change any of this. This is what we're using to double check when it gets back to us to make sure it's what we sent to you and it's the correct year. Last year we had one sent back to us that was from the previous year, and it created about 4 hours of extra work for us at wildcard time because it wasn't noticed. So please make sure you use this database and don't change anything on this. Check the dates and time, but everything should be right for this. Just go ahead and click OK. The next thing you need to check is the scoring setup. You know how many teams you have. I do too. If you don't, you can just kind of go up here to the schools and look, see what schools are in your meet. In this case, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 10 schools in this one, in this meet in here. So you can just kind of look how many have. You might want to double check to make sure that all the teams are there. I'll import all of these for you. But if somebody didn't put it on athletic.net, I'm not going to get them. So you may want to double check that as well. So you're going to go into scoring setup. There's 10 teams, so it's 20 for individuals, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, and so on and so forth. Relays are 3 times the number of teams, so there's 10 teams, so 30, 27, 24, 21, 18, 15, and so on and so on, down to 3. Everybody scores in these meets. So go ahead and click OK with that, and that should be the only thing you need to check as far as that setup go. The other thing you need to look at is go into the events and look at the lanes. This lane should be set to the number of lanes that you have on your track. Now I don't know what your track looks like that you're at, so it might be 9 lanes, it might be 8 lanes. You may need to change this so that it has the correct number of lanes for your track. And it's set up however you want that part of it set up. Next thing you're going to do is go into athletes menu and you need to assign them comp numbers. So I'm not having comp numbers right now, so I'm going to assign them comp numbers. I'm just going to go female and male. I'm going to start with 1 alphabetically by team. Make sure this is on no selection. Go ahead and click OK, click yes. There's 857 athletes in this one, so there I've got all of the comp numbers listed for them right now. So I've got my comp numbers, and you can go ahead and print the athlete reports, select male, female, sort, click create reports. At this point, most of you have done this before. And then this will be what you hand to your coaches. Make sure they use the comp number, not this number. And you've got that piece of it. So those are just kind of the things to check when you get and make sure you have that all done. At the conclusion of your meet, you're going to go up here to File, you're going to back it up, and you're going to resend that file back to me or to Mark Elkhorn. The meet manager has the information of where this needs to be sent, and it needs to be sent to us within 24 hours after the conclusion of your meet. As fast as you can get it to us, the better off we are, as we do have some things to do with that. So that's kind of the basic setup and what you need to send us. If you have any questions with that part of it, please feel free to send me an email, and I'll happily answer any questions as far as that goes and as far as the setup goes. Okay, kind of back here, if you've run an unseated meet prior to this, this part you really don't need to listen to. This is just for kind of those that need a little bit of a refresher on how to do an unseated meet, or if you haven't done one. There are 2 different ways to do this. So we've got the meet set up already. There's really 2 ways that you can do this. You can treat it like it's a seated meet, sort of, or you can get kind of the numbers on the tail end of the race. The first way to do it, and the way we do it at True Team State, is we have our clerk at the start line recording the numbers of the athletes that they put into the lanes. So we'll have them down with a sheet of paper for the, say we're doing the girls 100, and they'll go in, and lane 1 is number 1, lane 2 is number 2, lane 3 is number 3, and so on and so forth. So they get all 8 or 9 lanes filled in with the competitor numbers that are there. And we have them do them for all heats of, let's say, the girls 100. So let's say there are 3 heats of the girls 100. We then have them run those up to the press box. Then we go into the run menu, and I'm going to delete these out here real quick. I've put these in here already. So we have them run them up to the press box, and before they start the girls 100, this needs to be done before they start the girls 100 or whatever race is next. So you got to have somebody kind of on the ball, and somebody running up there. So when we get the sheets, say the first heat, we've got competitor 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So there's our first heat. So we get all of those typed in. We're going to add another heat. You can add another heat by hitting Control H. You'll see it adds a second heat. Let's say that we've got 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 in heat 2, and now we've got a third heat that we had in there. High Tech does this every once in a while, gotta love it. Heat 3, heat, we gotta give them numbers that we haven't used. So why it's doing lane 7 and lane 10 right now, I don't know. 20, 21, if I go out of, hopefully I go out of this and come back to it. High Tech's just giving me a little bit of grief right now. Kind of delete out of this, and if I go to adjust, we only have 18 competitors set in because we just have a 9-lane track and we get 2 entries. So you're just going to have 2 heats of it. So that's why it won't let me do that. So I've got my 2 heats in. I don't need that third heat. I'm going to adjust that out of there real quick. I'm just going to delete empty heats. So that's not sitting in there. Save it. And so I've got 2 heats sitting over here. Imagine if I go out, come back in, and now it's down to 2 heats. Now I'm just going to go up to interfaces, photo finish, update start lists. You'll notice that it's here. It's, in this case, you just hit all. And this is just like if you had a seated meet. Click OK. Now if you go over to the High Tech, to the finish links end of things, you can go load schedule, go down to the girls 100. Now you'll notice that I've got a bunch of heats of everything else, but when I go down to the girls 100, there's only 2 heats here. So I click on heat 1, there are my runners for heat 1. You do it just like you normally would. The race goes, control save, get times, and the times will import in there just like they have in the past if it's a seated meet. The key to all of this, of course, is making sure that you get those sheets prior to the race starting. You need to get them good amount of time prior to the race starting, and also making sure that your clerk has a copy of it down there still, because kids move. Kids forget where they're supposed to be. And if they forget where they're supposed to be, they're going to end up in the wrong lane, and that can lead to problems down the line. So you can just treat it like it's a seated meet doing it that direction. The other way that you can do it, and the way that I do it for my home meets, is I don't have anything seated prior to it. I have somebody sitting at the finish line and recording at the finish line. And then I have them bring them up to me at the conclusion of like the 100. So let's say that we're doing the boys 100. So what we have to do here in this interface is, if we're going to do it like this, we're going to update start list, but we're going to go down here where it says the number of heats to insert for an unseated meet. The maximum number of heats that you're going to have is what you want to put in there. So the maximum number of heats that we're going to have is probably going to be 2. or 3, or whatever it is, but let's just say it's 2. So now if I go back into Hi-Tech, or the finish links here, and I look, you'll notice that, person didn't take, I've got only, so everything that's unseated, I've got 3 heats sitting here. I seated the 100 already, so that's why that one's taken care of. But all of the rest of these have 3 heats in them. And you can go in and seat the relays or whatever that you want to do. So anyway, so I've got those unseated. So what the person in links is going to do is the person in links is going to go over here, and let's say we're running the 100. So they're going to open up the 100. Now you'll notice that there's nothing here. They're going to get the start. They're going to do exactly what they normally do. But now when they evaluate it, they're going to make sure that they evaluate by lane. And you have to evaluate these by lane. So lane 1, lane 2, lane 3, lane 6, whatever, in the order of finish. You just need to make sure that your identification, and it's because I don't have a camera hooked up, you can't see the lane things, but just make sure that they're evaluating by lane, not ID or anything like that. So they'll go ahead and just type in lane 1, enter lane 2, enter lane 3, enter, line them up and click enter, and then click save. And then they can just go to the next heat, so they can just down arrow and go to the second heat of it and do the same thing. And you don't, on the Hi-Tech end, you don't need to worry about it at all. So now what they're doing at the finish line after they finish is they're making them stay in their lanes, and they've got a sheet of paper down there, and they're just walking down. Lane 1 is this, lane 2 is this, lane 3 is this, lane 4 is this, and so on and so forth. Then after the 100 meters is complete, the boys 100 meters complete, they're going to bring them up to you, and you are simply going to type the names, type the numbers in there. So 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58. So there was heat 1. Now all you have to do is hit get times, and it will recognize heat 1 of the 100-meter dash, and it will fill those times in there because you've done them by lanes. You Control H to add a second heat, and then just type them in here, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, and so on. And you've got them taken care of. You get times, and the times will show up in here. I like to do it this way, and the reason I like to do it this way is because kids forget where they're supposed to be. And if I'm getting them beforehand and I don't have an extra copy down there and a kid moves on me, I don't know if that kid's moved. When they're at the finish line, I've got them standing in the finish line, and we know who they're supposed to be. And you can do that for any race. That's why I do individual races, individual dashes that finish in lanes. With like the girls 4x2, I pre-seed all of these anyway. So I would just have the teams already in this one. So I would already have like the relays, I'd already have them seated. So you can put hip numbers on them or whatever you normally do with them. The other one is and then you get to the distance races where they don't finish in lanes. And there's a couple different ways to do this. I honestly, with this one, if you have hip numbers, the easiest way to do this one is to have the clerk assign them hip numbers, write those numbers down, and then bring it up to the booth and do this prior to. That's the easiest way to do the distance races. Upload the schedule, and then you've got them all in there, and then your links can just evaluate them using the hip numbers. If you want to do it the other way, you can, but it is a little bit tricky when you do that. And I don't have a camera hooked up, so it's a little bit more difficult to show. But you can go to the 1600, and you're probably only going to have one heat of this, but whatever. Go to the girls 1600, and because I don't have my camera up, I don't have a window, but we're not going to evaluate this you can evaluate this by lane as well, but when you go to it, just click on 1, click on the first person 1, enter, next person 2, enter 3, enter 4, enter 5, enter 6, enter 7, enter, and so on and so forth. It's probably the easiest way to do it, and then have the clerk at the finish line just write the hand numbers in order, so kind of cross-country style is kind of how I tell them to do it at the finish line. is just write the numbers down in order, bring those up to you, and again, then you just go in here, position 1, position 2, and so on and so forth. And then go ahead and get times. Sometimes you do get a little bit of a window that asks you to accept or reject. If you have 16 in there and there are 16 times in there, you're good to go. If not, there might be a little mistake. You might want to reevaluate a little bit. But other than that, that's kind of how I do unseated meets. 2 different ways, 2 different styles of doing it. Everybody kind of has their own preference to do it. Whether they get them beforehand, and then your Finish Links guy has it a lot easier. Our Finish Links operator has it a lot easier because they can see who's supposed to be in lane 1 and lane 2 and so forth. But it does take good coordination between the start line and the scoring timers of the meet. Or you can do it by getting the times at the finish line. Either way, if you have any questions on this, please don't hesitate to give me a call or send me an email, and I'll answer any questions that I can. Good luck next week.